Awesome. We're being live streamed. I'm just waiting for the little progress bar to finish loading so I can make sure this is all recorded. And yes, the recording will be sent out on email. So you're welcome to take notes or catch up on the email recording as well. Yes, it's on our YouTube right now. Research Design Buddies on YouTube. Cool. Welcome, everyone. We're really excited to have Vincent and Anne from Design Stripe over to talk about how AI can help designers. I'm Grace. I founded Design Buddies. If y'all are new to Design Buddies is a really large design community to help you level up your design career. We hope to help you land jobs, improve your skills, and make lifelong friends online and offline. I started Design Buddies 3 years ago as a student transitioning my career from bio and computer engineering to UX design. So I've been working in UX design for the past 3 years at Electronic Arts. And for Design Buddies, we host a lot of events like this, have portfolio reviews and places where you can get feedback on Discord. We have 55,000 members on Discord and we host a ton of events. So definitely feel free to connect with us as well. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Vincent.
Thank you guys for inviting us. It's a great pleasure to be here. As you said, my name is Vincent. I guess you all know that since you already accepted this invite. Very excited to be here. It doesn't really show. I know I have a face that doesn't show that much expression, but believe me, super excited. Obviously, sharing thoughts and about creativity and AI is great. I've been playing with AI for, let's say, 8 months, and I'm by far not an expert in AI, but I've been, I don't want to say an expert, but pretty well experienced with creativity. Just to give you a bit of a background on me and why I'm here and why I think it matters to talk about AI and how it boosts your creativity. Well, I for 20 years, I've been a creative director, mostly in advertising, from a big network like Dentsu, and before Design Stripe, I was at Sidley, and I worked with creative to help them polish their design, polish their ideas, making sure that they are well understood by clients and obviously by their peers. And that led me to work with big clients and small clients. Just to name a few, I've been fortunate to work with Samsung, the North Face, Hyundai, and some local ones here in Montreal. Obviously, I'm from Montreal, so some clients that are more regional and that you might not have heard of. But I've been lucky also to be on big juries and see a lot of creative minds and talk to them and understand their process. And over the last, let's say, 4 years, I also gave a workshop at one of our schools here in Montreal. It's one of the only creative schools in the world called La Factory. And during that workshop, what I try to do with creative and clients and people who are not really close to creativity, but really believe in that creativity can help get them new ideas and better solutions for their business. And it's really with this angle that I brought AI into that process, because obviously getting my workshop up to date and trying to get most for my students, it was obvious that it was important to add AI to that process, because I'm sure, like me, everything that you're seeing on your feed, let's say LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, it all talks about AI. And therefore, it seems like everyone is using it day in, day out. And when I started to play with that, and obviously at Design Stripe, as Anne said earlier, like, our CEO really pushed us to use AI in all the things that we do, from email to prompt engineering to ideas, validation. So I really thought that everybody was going into that learning curve and everybody was using AI in their day-to-day task. But most of the time when I talk with my friends that are creatives as well, they were super happy the first 5 minutes to talk about AI, but fast, they acknowledge that they don't really use it on their day-to-day. And they are surprised when I say that every day we use, or I use ChatGPT or Midjourney in my process. So I really decided to bring that in. So it's really with that angle that I'm gonna look at how AI is really a productive tool, but also a creative one. And I think there's two sides of this equation. Some people are scared with their jobs and how AI could potentially replace them. And the other end, there's also the AI enthusiasts that believe that it can achieve greatness, and we should all play with that. So I think if we look at it in a creative mindset, we can see that it's probably the second way that will help us define that. So before I go even further, I want to thank Anne also for making this possible on our side. She's the one with Grace that really orchestrate so that we are here today. I also want to thank Francois, Jen, Shannon, Val, Virginie, and Mike, who really push us internally. And some of the knowledge that I will share today comes from those people, not only from my experience, but also theirs. So it's important that I thank them for that, because as a group, we really push ourselves together to learn from it and go further with AI. So this is me. As you can see, probably a lot younger than I am today. I didn't have to shave that day to have no beard. So it's like 20 years ago or something. And this is the first time that technology was a threat to my work. So 20 years ago, I was in the music industry selling compact disc and promoting bands from Montreal in the States. And it appears that the technology just came in and CDs were no longer relevant. Everybody was downloading online their music, and the posture I had at that moment was, well, obviously sad, because I saw this business that I really loved disappeared pretty much overnight, where CD were no longer a thing. And I really decided at that moment to let go. For me, it was like, there's no business, there's no opportunity in music anymore, since everyone can download the MP3 online. And I didn't see the opportunity at that moment that I could have launched Spotify or think about YouTube and promote music in a very different way. And I think it's fair to mention that at that time, I was also studying web design and how to build website. And even if I was close to that technology, I decided not to pursue that business. And there's many ways that I could have played with that, and I decided to let go. Fast forward 10 years, and I was a Flash developer, and a person named Steve Jobs decided that like Flash and ActionScript were no longer a good coding environment. And at this moment, I was like early in my career, I was building Flash website, and I really enjoyed that, and I really believed that it was a great technology. And I had a very different mindset to it. So I really fought back, and I really thought that Flash would win over Steve Jobs. And I was on the camp of the no. And I really wanted to defend Flash and my job as well, saying that this is a great tool. One of my friend and colleague often tells me, and tells everyone who wants to hear it, that you cannot be wrong about the future. That if you say that cars will fly, well, you're never wrong until it happens, because you never know if cars will fly in 20 years, in 5 years, but you're never wrong when you talk about the future. But what I found out is that you're wrong if you stay in the current mindset. And that's how 6 or 8 months ago, when we started to talk about AI, I truly look at this as an opportunity. And instead of fighting it, I just decided to jump on that wagon and play with it, so that instead of being pushed out, or someone else would decide what to do with AI and what my job would be, I've decided to play along, and decided to to work with it to really define what's the future of design and what's the future of creativity, and be part of it. And I think all of you that are online probably feel that this is an important moment in history. A lot of people say that this is incredible in terms of opportunity, the capability that this brings, and we are part of it. It's either we decide to be part of it or be left out of it. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that. And for me, this quote from Albert Einstein, "Imagination is more important than knowledge," is really where I started back and look at how can I bring AI into my workload. And I had this poster in my house. My mom had that since I was like 6 or 7 years old. So this quote was in my day-to-day for 20 years. And every time I have a challenge, I always come back to it because creativity is what fuels me. And when I look at AI and I look at imagination and what you can actually do with it, the potential is huge. We are lucky here in Montreal. We have one of the most influential person in AI, Joshua Bengio, and I get this quote in French, but mainly what he's saying is that we have a duty to act on and play with AI so that we can define what it is. And the reason why I kept it in French is because also this pivot in history is it's fundamental that we take part of it, but being in Montreal and seeing that Montreal is a hub for AI is very empowering. And having one of those major player in the AI world, part of our community, is one thing that I cherish, and I think it's for us to decide who are those people that we want to follow, and that person in particular, I think, is defining where we're going with this. On the other end of the spectrum, you have this guy from Google that says that AI is probably the most important thing that humanity have worked on. And there's something pivotal there that I think we need to understand, and we need to bring that in our thinking. When we think about creativity, some people say, and I think it's Jerry Seinfeld, I didn't find that quote, even asking ChatGPT about it, he didn't find that quote, but I think it was part of an episode of Comedian Getting Coffee with Larry David, where they were chatting and they were saying, like, creativity should not be serious. And if you take it serious, you're ruining it before it even starts. So when you bring those two elements, you bring this seriousness and the fact that it's the most important thing in the world that could potentially happen. But when you face it with creativity and you like, okay, it needs to be fun, you need to have a different mindset towards it. It's very important that we play with this friction and this tension. And I find this quite fun to look at this as a non-serious also, because if we want to invent stuff, if we want to have a different critical eyes, we need to also have fun. And some people I've worked with say that creative needs to be alone. They need to allow themselves to somehow be naked with their thoughts, and not taking everything seriously if you want to have new ideas. It's a bit that mindset that I hope to trigger with this. So when I teach creative about creativity, there's 3 principles that I always bring in. And I question myself looking at AI, and I wonder, are those 3 principles still hold true with everything that is happening? So the first mindset is, and the first principle is admitting that you don't have the answer. If you want to really break through and have new ideas and have new ways to do things, when you look at the problem, you need to step out of your known answer to it. Otherwise, you won't have new ideas to it. And I think this position and this principle is still relevant looking at it with AI. The second principle is that it will probably be difficult and it pretty much bring you miscomfort looking at some possible solution, because they will be new, they might be completely radical, they might be even stupid. And that brings a lot of people some anxiety when they look at stupid ideas. And well, it's still true, I think, with AI, especially now. Like sometimes ChatGPT and Midjourney gives you some weird answers and might create some uncomfort towards the answer. But it's important that you embrace that to allow yourself to find new ideas. The last one is, I think, is the one that is being challenged the most with AI is time. Obviously, when you create, you want to allow yourself to take some time to work, to uncover new roads, to look at different answers. But with Midjourney, with ChatGPT, and any other tools that are now available, time is contracted, and you can do so much more in less time. And I think that's the main element that I think as creative we need to balance in and out sometimes, is to look at is more versus better. And I think as creative, we always try to get from good or to okay to good to great. And it all only happens when you start to invest time in it. And it's the same thing with AI. And I saw some of the comments from your question, Grace, at the beginning, like, what do you expect and what do you want? And people want to integrate AI in their workload. And a lot of the posts that I see online seems to have like solution already written in, and like, this is the 5 best prompt for Midjourney. This is the 5 best prompt if you want to do this with ChatGPT. And it seems from those perfect prompt that it won't take time to do it. I might be wrong, but for now, it's still, you still need to invest time in it. You need to invest time in creating your own prompt. You need to invest time in refining your research. You need to find time to look at ideas there. It's not an instant process. And I think if you want to get better with AI, you need to invest time. And I think that's one of the key elements within Design Stripe that we decided to do, is invest time in that. So it's okay to do tests while during your day, to do prompts and try new AI tool, to do some Midjourney. Even if the result is not what you expected in the beginning, you need to get to work with it. So that's the first barrier. It's allowing you to spend time with it. And when you get the first result, you're saying, oh, this is not the result I was expecting. And from what I see online, it should work. But it works if you reprompt and you re-engineer, you change some words, and you get there at some point. And at that moment, you say, oh, it's getting better and it's getting good, and I'm getting the results that I was expecting. But only if you spend time with it. There's no miracle solution with that. And with any creative endeavor, there's a problem that we want to solve, and you need to know that the solution exists even if you don't see it. And to do that, you need to start to uncover, like, what is it that is beyond the surface. Because sometimes, and especially with clients, sometimes what you feel is that you have one answer and the first answer is the right one. And probably that if you ask GPT some stuff, they're probably going to give you an answer that you might take as the final answer. But you need to go beyond that, and you need to search for new answers so that you can look at your work and be confident that this is the right work. And this is still true today with AI. Like, I can spend 2 hours in ChatGPT. Sometimes I get the good result in the first 10 minutes, but I keep go at it because more you have, better it's you're building your confidence with it. And it's the same process so far with any other creative endeavor. When I started in marketing in one of the network, I was one creative director, executive creative director, was telling us that he asked 400 ideas per day. And that was a lot. People were like kind of crazy about that, because that creative director every single day was asking for 400 ideas. And when I first heard that, I was like, this is crazy. I'm sure they don't do it. Even if he asked for it, probably don't get 400 new ideas every single day. And there's two main reasons why he was asking that. The first one is, and if you're creative, you might recognize yourself into that, is if your client asks you for 5 ideas for Friday, the chances are that probably Thursday mid-afternoon will be, maybe you have 2-3 ideas, and you'll make sure to have your 5 ideas by Friday. And you will have those 5 ideas. But his belief was that if I ask you 5 ideas Monday and 5 ideas Tuesdays and the same Wednesday and Thursday, you will get those new ideas, because as the creative mind works, it kind of like wash the other ideas that you add and cleans it, and the next day you have new idea based on some of the content that you uncovered the day before. And with that, he said, like on Friday, instead of having like 5 ideas, I could have like hundreds ideas. And the second part of that is having that many ideas give you first confidence that there's probably a good answer to this. And there's probably also the best one is probably part of all of those answers. And it's the same with ChatGPT. If you ask for 20 ideas every day, you will probably at the end of the week have hundreds of ideas that you will be able to look at and think about what those ideas are about, and how will they implement is up to you. And I always use this diagram on how to map those ideas. Some ideas are probable, some are preferable, some are possible, some are not possible, but it's very good to map them. And if you have 400 ideas at the end of the week or at the end of the day with ChatGPT, you'll probably be able to look at each of those ideas and be like, okay, is there one that seems to be the best one? Is there one that I have problem with it, or some that are great, some are less great? But if you don't have those ideas, you're probably gonna fall on the probable one, but probably won't uncover the preferable ones or the optimal one. And I think that's one of the greatness of ChatGPT and Midjourney, is that fast you can get a lot of those answers. So if you prompt for 20 marketing ideas or 20 flows, because I saw some UX people and they're like 20 flows for optimizing onboarding or whatever your quest is, you will get a lot of answers out of it. Probably some will be terrible. It's for you to judge, but you will have those ideas in your mind and you will have them mapped really quickly. And you will be able to say, okay, this one seems to be the most preferable solution for my project. And all that work that you would have probably not have done, because finding 40 ideas is not easy, but having them fast, you will be able to map them and have better result with that. So when you look at the process of creativity and knowing that the amount of ideas that you're generating is one of the critical aspects of success, well, you cannot look like with ChatGPT or Midjourney or any other tools with a sense of not wanting to use them, because it will allow you to get more ideas. This is my face when I look at ideas, and a lot of people over the last 10 years have looked at me, and sometimes within my office, they look at and they're a bit scared. Like, sharing an idea is not easy, and it's not easy to receive an idea. I've been doing it for 10 years, and it's not easy to see the potential. It's not easy to understand the emotion that the creative team have done within this. But I think the title of being a creative director is the one that, when you start in creativity, is the one that you want. And I believe with ChatGPT and Midjourney, you're getting there a lot faster. And the reason why is that instead of having your own single idea that you want to take to your team and your boss, you might have like 50 of those ideas. But you still need to decide, and deciding which one is best takes a lot of time. And getting all those ideas on paper, getting all those ideas laid out will help you understand which one makes more sense. It will help you find better ideas, better build the arguments with this idea. That is a marketing idea, a project for an app, for a website, and whatnot. You need to look at those ideas and try to understand which one makes more sense. Michael Jordan said that the more you prepare, the luckier you get. And that's basically that. It's a sport to get ideas. It's a sport to create. And if you do, you will have more chance to have the right one in your cards. And that's the one thing that I want you guys to understand is there's no perfect prompt, but if you get all those, you'll get one. With this comes a lot of documentation. And I think that's one of the key elements that I find quite interesting. And I'm sure a lot of designers have that. We love Pinterest, we love Savvy, we love all those. And I'm sure you guys have a folder full of images that you like and a lot of images that you wish you have done and you have pinned throughout the web. But now it's getting even more important that you document every images that you like, that you document every single marketing ads that you see. And the reason is you need to analyze that. You need to understand how to communicate those ideas and how you want this to be brought up and what's the output. Because if you like colorful, let's say app or marketing, well, there's probably tons of ways to say that so that it resembles what you want as an output. You need to document it. If you save all the images for all the project that you love, you'll be able to bring that into Midjourney and say, I want this, but instead of being a guy at a desk with tons of paper, it's a frog, and instead of paper, it's leaf and whatnot, but in the style of that image. And if you don't document those images, it will be harder and harder to get to those visuals that you like. And it's the same with marketing. If you like punchy headlines with only 3 words, or you like the ones that are lengthy, or whatever are the things that you like as a person, you need to learn how to ask for those things. And more you'll be able to document your personal prompt and say, this gives a result for this type of work that I like, and this one gives a type of work for this type of work. And therefore documenting becomes even more important. And you can even ask like ChatGPT to help you to document that. And I was thinking about this a bit last week, but what are the artists that you prefer? What are the one that you like? And how do you describe the work of an artist? You can ask ChatGPT. So you have that prompt and that information to ask Midjourney, for example, any other tools to get the result that you like. So documenting is now a big part of the work of a creative. It was already a big part, but now it has a direct impact on the output that you will get from all of those tools. And let's think about how you can start to build your own language with this. And there's tremendous possibilities on how to define who you are as an artist, as a designer, by words. And that have been one of the key elements that has not been the case for a long time. It brings you a lot of different skills. This is an image I got prompting in Midjourney. And as I said in the beginning, I was into music. I didn't say in what type of music, but now with this image, you can believe that I was in heavy metal stuff. And I would have never been able to do that type of visuals 20 years ago. But imagine what a record could look like with this in a metal music community, and imagine all the things that you can do. I would not have been able to do this 20 years ago. This took me an hour or so to get the final prompt, do some versioning on it, and upscale it. This would have taken my life completely away if I tried to do this 20 years ago. So imagine all the things that you can imagine with this. It's a different skills that you can develop really fast. It can talk to in various language. You can have noticed I'm not like I'm French, Canadian, so I speak French. I work in English, but I have colleagues throughout the world. I work with people in Korea. This would have been a savior to be able to translate everything. Let's think about naming for a product. Let's think about fun, interesting ways that you can say things and learn how to do this. Now it's all available in one click. So never hesitate to look at what other language can hold on. For me, always have been a great source of creativity. As I told you earlier, also I was a coder. I was not able 6 months ago to recode in all the languages that exist nowadays, let's say React or Python and whatnot. Now with ChatGPT, I can do that. I can use CodePen to create. So all this knowledge is now available to you guys, and like being able to write, to code, to design are 3 skills that are really close, but usually you need a team's member to do those. And right now you can do it alone, and imagine how powerful your team can be if you can all master all those skills. And for me, that's one of the key elements that this brings, is allow you to have new skills within your skill set. If I was able as a designer to draw, that was a plus. If I was able to write punchy lines, that was a plus. If I was able to design flow, that was a plus. Nowadays, it's all those skills. It just needs your intention. It just needs your reflection and your ideas to bring those to life. Just before Christmas or the holidays, we did this Christmas card or holiday cards, and that was our first try with AI. And what we did is, as we believe, like use prompt in our design, and we asked people to describe what they wanted in their Christmas card or their holiday cards and imagine it. And we run that. For us, it was a great learning on how to use the API, how to craft better prompts. And we did this really to get better at it and understand what is behind the wall of AI. And we did it, and we learned a tons. And I think one thing that we learned is, and probably good for you guys to hear that, is this is the image that we got the most requested. People could have requested anything out of Stable Diffusion at the moment that we were using, but 90% of the thousands that we got was a snowy holiday in London, for example. It was all around things that people knew. And there's a lot of rooms for creative to imagine what the future holds for visuals, and people and the world needs new ideas to feed ChatGPT and to chat Midjourney. Otherwise, we only prompt the things that we know, right? And that is a big learning. We need to bring crazy ideas to AI so that it can output crazy ideas. And you have to look at those ideas with a sense of disbelief at some point to make room for this new idea to grow. Otherwise, we will live in a world where people always ask the same thing. And I think that's our role as creative, to come up with those things. And only people with imagination can do that. With this, there's tons of technology, and I think that's one of the key element that people are the most craving, is like you can get high images quality with AI. And I think if you look at possibilities with looking at old photos, looking at drawings, and what you can do with experimenting with this is incredible. You can think about matching robots and ChatGPT all together, and there's tons of innovation that will fuel your creativity. And I think if we look at this as creative, we need to see beyond what we see in those steps, because everything that we believe will be able to be built in, let's say, 5 years, will be able to be built. And when I think about the capabilities all those technology, for me, it's where the magic happens. And I was thinking about this earlier today, is if prompts is something that you can do live, let's say at a stadium, and you go to see a soccer match or a football match, depending on where you are in the world, and you say, I want to see myself scoring a goal in a big stadium. They can recognize your face. They can put that. Imagine you in a suit, let's say on the Real Madrid, and you are all of a sudden you're in that stadium and you're scoring a goal, and you get that image. So imagine if we can imagine all of those experience, knowing that this capability is now available on scanning your face, understanding your voice, and probably imagine the future right before your eyes while you're experiencing something is a great deal. I think also the most important for me is the behavior that comes with it. As creative, I think this is one of the area where we often don't look at too closely. But what happens now is that prompt is something. 6 months ago, it was not something people understood, and probably most of the population in the world don't really understand what a prompt is. I've done some workshop, as I said, where people didn't understand prompt. Here on this call, probably that you all understand prompts and you know what a prompt is. But that behavior is very different than what we were used today, what we were used, let's say 6 months ago. And tons of behaviors will arise from it. Now you can talk with your computer. You can have a conversation with your computer. What will happen if I can imagine a future where I walk in my house, I can ask anything, and the computer will do the things that I was not, that I was planning to do, but it will be done automatically. So just on the functional side, there's tons of features that can happen just because that new behavior will become something that people will do. And I often use the AirPod as an example. 5 years ago, you would not have seen someone walking in the streets looking at and walking in the streets and look like they're talking to no one. Now everybody does it. They walked in the streets. They feel like they're not on the phone, but they're talking. They look like they're talking to no one. 5 years ago, everybody would have all their cell phones to their ear and talk on, and you would have a visual cue that someone is talking on the phone. Those small behavior has tremendous potential to bring new ideas. And I was talking about walking to a stadium. What if within a big stadium, everybody chant the same song and something happens based on that audio clip cues? What if you create visuals in downtown Montreal, where depending on how crowded it is or how loud it is, the building react differently. And there's potential in those behavior because now that technology is now available. And I want you as creative to look closely at those new behavior because they will trigger new ideas for you. And that for me is where the real potential lies, because this will create new things and probably create new project, new businesses, and will bring us in different ways and define the jobs that we as creative will have to imagine. The future of tomorrow is really at looking at the behavior humans have. Sorry, towards technology. So this is an example. Voice system is one. Probably there will be ton in the next couple of 5 years to come forwards with that. And we look at all this and it's all functional, but let's think about this robot. This is just an art installation, and there's a lot of value in creating that. So just opening the door of what art installation could potentially be in the next 10, 20 years knowing that we will have all this technology accessible to any human is great, just in thinking of how emotional it can be. So I obviously, as a designer, we're trying to solve problems, and we're trying to get a better world into this, but art is also part of that landscape. And I think it's very interesting to look at this side of technology, and how can we create new art with it. And I think that's a completely uncovered field for creative visually, and also just creating books and poetry and all that. So let's not just look at the functional side of what AI can bring us. So I've been talking a lot about the overall and the process of creativity, and I think it's important to ground it a bit more in what Design Stripe does with it. So I'm gonna just give you some ways that we use it, and that have changed. And we're like fairly a small team. We're not a team of hundreds, or marketing team, the one that I'm part of. We're not 20%. So having those tools help us do things that would have taken us weeks. Now it takes us a few hours, if not minutes, in a day. Just creating personas for or product is something that we've been doing. This one dates from January 16. All of this have been designed and done in AI with AI. Instead of taking our team a week to do so, it took us like 3 hours to define 3 personas. And imagine what you can do now that you have that persona. You can validate your ideas towards those persona. You can ask to have headlines written towards those persona. You can validate if your product is aligned with those persona, and if not, which one. And we had that earlier. We had a chat about that earlier. But those are the things as designer that we're not completely versed to do, but now that we have access to that, we can participate in defining those and have ideas that match the people we're trying to convince and work towards. So that's one element that for me have changed how we do it. Obviously writing emails and whatnot, but this is something that we can use on a day-to-day basis. Those are work in progress advertising from the team. So everything that you will see is 80% AI. So all the photos, the copy have been refined with AI. I'm just going to show you the first few seconds of it, but and we started to play last week with motion design with AI, and so far we haven't found what we're looking for, but we've been able to establish a look based on work that we've done with Midjourney, and a tone also a little bit with ChatGPT. So it's concrete work that we've been working on in the last couple of weeks. And imagine the work that would have been for our team to have different images in the same style of that persona and that person that we wanted to have in our advertising. But we've been able to do that without going on a shoot. We've been able to develop all those visuals that we will be testing, and we will be using those lines all together to test and see where we see a bit more of the work that has been done by the team, and see if it resonates with people. And this would have not been possible 6 months ago. We would have been able to like buy those images or try to shoot them, but Mike, or designer, did some research with Midjourney, and when we found the look that we wanted, I've been able to develop the full series with it. He also created those mock-ups, those person wearing long sleeve. Those are completely AI. He just added the design to it. So just imagine what your projects could end up being with still shots or product shots of your brands or your the mockups that you're using. So there's a lot of potential. So for creative to differentiate in the landscape of design by having different asset that comes from Midjourney and really fits within their creative. This quote is something that maybe you've seen online: to replace graphic designer with AI, clients will need to accurately describe what they want. And this is a fun meme that a lot of people are sharing online, but I think we need to be a bit more realistic about it. I've done this ad in less than 20 minutes. And I didn't have to, and as I said earlier, I didn't have to create a very complicated prompt. Give me 3 headlines in this style about sports. You pick one, you select one. And by no means I'm saying that this is the best ads that I've made in my life, but it's probably the fastest, and probably I could react to it and react with my clients or my team really fast on this. And I didn't have to experiment that much to get it. And without asking, Midjourney gave me this duo visual with the basket that is kind of weird. And the person, if you notice, has a weird body. But the idea of having one image at the top about the sports and one person at the bottom is not an idea that I had. It's an idea that ChatGPT, with my prompt that I give me that idea. And I thought it was interesting because it gives that vintage look. It really fits the persona, it fits the brand. And obviously I use Nike because I wanted to, it's not my client, it's not our client, I just want to state that, but I thought it was important that everybody understand that brand so that we can relate to it. Where champions begin is a line that ChatGPT gave me. I reprompt that into to Midjourney with an image reference, and they gave me something. And within 20 minutes, I got it. So it's not something that, and without time, and I was able to get something that was fairly okay. And I think we need to understand that our clients and the people and business owner will have access sooner or later to be able to do that. And that's exactly like you could have said, like, this have been, yes, assembled by me in Figma, taking the photos, writing the right text, but we are working Design Stripe to bring all those elements together, and we call this smart layouts. For now, it's a work in progress, but what you can do with it is you come to the project and you scroll ideas. You don't even need to prompt, it's all taken care of. So imagine a world where design and ideas, they're no longer prompt, they're just showed to you, and you need to react to it and pick one and decide to get tons of ideas without even asking. And that's the type of ways that we believe businesses and people will look at AI is not only to ask for stuff, but they will expect new elements that come to them without any work. So everything that we built is done like almost instantly, and have the right design applied to all the design. So if your brand is green and you have a logo, automatically it can be applied without any human interaction. So let's imagine a world where you scroll and you get great design, great advertising for your social media, for your email. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, but let's think about how like automation can really bring your creativity to the next level. Using those tools and inventing the future of what design can hold. I think that's the real interesting part, and that's what we do at Design Stripe. So I hope this was interesting enough. If you have any question, if you want to hear more, obviously we still have like 10 minutes for questions. And yeah, so that was it for today.
Awesome, thank you. Definitely gave a lot of great tips on using AI and especially documenting your designs a lot. So we'll hop into some questions. So yes, you will all receive the recording in your email after this as well. It's also on our YouTube channel. For any of the questions, I'm gonna just go through the list on the Q&A feature, so please keep them there. So in terms of documentation, how you highlight the importance of documenting your process, what worked, what didn't, and your learnings. Marina asks, I'm curious, what online tools and apps do you use to document your ideas and save images that you like?
The main things, I don't know if I share my screen now. I feel that I click on something just before I answer the question.
Oh, I see your slides.
Okay, perfect. So basically, I used to work with Pinterest, CV. I also use a tool called Milanote to gather all my notes. That's for the visuals one. And for all the prompts, I use Evernote, where I document all my prompts, and I also use any other like online tools like Paper and Dropbox notes, so that they are shareable. So it's not overcomplicated to document those. Obviously, if you have a team, you probably want to look at something a bit more robust for that, but I use the basic one, and my hard drive with all the images that I've saved over the last 20 years is also a great place where I keep my images, and I try to revisit that a lot with AI, because it really helped me to fast forward my process.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. And I guess for me, since they asked for Design Buddies presenters, whenever I search for inspiration, it's usually for a certain project, for context. So I just make a FigJam or Figma file and slap all my images in one 2D plane so I can see it all in one place. So that's what personally helps me.
Yeah, that's a very good way to do it.
Yeah, thank you. Next question.
I think for images, really quickly, if you want to use them with Midjourney, it's really good to have a online version with a link. I think it makes it much easier to have it. So if you bring those images somewhere, it's good to have a online version where you can copy the URL.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Next question, Marina asks, what research data did you use for generating personas? It was one of the use cases you gave for using AI for personas.
Which tool I used?
What research data did you use for generating your personas?
Well, basically what I did is I looked at the hypothesis that we had, and I looked at the data that we had also from our current subscribers and the potential one that we have in terms of regions. And I also added an idea of what is the typical one that we wanted to have. And then I run that into ChatGPT a couple of times, got some options, then refine. Also asked the prompt also to generate some ideas based on the product that we're developing. So it's not only the data that I provided, but also the one that ChatGPT thought would have been insightful to test based on where we wanted to go and what are the market that we wanted to hit.
Mm-hmm. Can you spell the names out in the chat as well, the tools you use to insert into ChatGPT?
No, honestly, the one I use the most is ChatGPT. I find that it's the one that gives me the best result. We are using now in the last couple of days Claude as well, because it can hold a lot of data, and that's one thing that is important. But personally, it's not the one I use. I tried it a couple of times, and I haven't find my way around this tool yet. So really, ChatGPT is the one I use on a daily basis.
Yeah, I know. ChatGPT is really powerful. It's honestly like I use it almost every day. as well.
Yeah.
It's great. Love it. Next question is, I feel like for anonymous attendee, for what AI websites would you recommend? Maybe you could clarify what kind of use case you're looking for, and ask again. So the next question from Anya is, what tool do you use for motion AI? And I'm assuming this means generating like videos or motion design, or have any recommendations for that?
Yeah, let me just find the name really quickly. It's in one of our chats. If I can't find it quickly, Kaber, KAIBRER.ai. I can share that. It's a AI video generation based on images. That's the one that we've tried. I think it has a lot of potential for storyboarding. It was not quite what we had in mind for our output, but I'll be able to share that link in the chat. Hold on one second.
And for any of our attendees, since we're almost on time, let us know your favorite AI tools in the chat too. And I'm also very excited to try out smart layouts to scale Design Buddy's social media too. So looking forward to that.
Definitely. Sure, Anne will be able to hook you up. And maybe, Anne, we can share the link to if you guys want to stay connected to it. It's not yet out, so couple of days, but you can sign up to register to the waiting list.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I've shared the link.
Oh yeah, I saw
and
that.
yeah, join the waitlist, guys, if you want to be like one of the first to know when it's ready for testing, ready for you to play around with. We're really excited with this product because it's going to be a life changer. But as what Vincent say, it needs time so that the so that the quality that we are producing is top notch. But yeah, we're really excited as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Gonna take some next questions here. From Anonymous, is there a proper way? I guess like this is more, I guess I'll frame it like, how do you improve in your prompting skills to get an answer from ChatGPT? I feel like it's more just like practicing and documenting your learnings, but I was curious if you have any other further tips that attendees could use for using ChatGPT.
Yeah, front loading what you expect is very important in ChatGPT. If you use Playground, is the context box is very important. But what I personally find quite useful is to start small, like ask one specific question, and based on the answer that you get, and it's the same with Midjourney, is like depending on what you get, then you refine afterwards. And I try also to divide the type of answer I'm trying to get. So for example, I had this with at a workshop a couple of weeks back. They asked for interviews question, and they went all ahead with, can you give me 5 questions for an interview? And they got 5 questions, and they were very obvious in terms of and they said like, well, those questions I could have easily come up with myself. But if you break down your thinking thoughts and you bring that to GPT, it will give you better results. So it's like, for example, I'm going to do an interview about this subject. Can you give me 5 important information about that subject? GPT gives you 5 important notion about this topic. Then out of those 5 topics that you find interesting, you're like, okay, can you give me more information about this particular one? And then you craft question based on the early response that you get, and you, okay, now that you know this, what about this in this context? Then the question gets a lot more personalized. Like if you were an interviewer, and if you had someone that you don't know in front of you, you don't ask like, what are the most 5 important things in your life? It's probably going to be quite basic. But if you work that interview slowly and you say, what interests you? And they say like, oh, I'm really into surf. Oh, what do you like about surf? Then the questions are getting even more insightful. It's the same with ChatGPT, and you need to break that thought so that you get to a point where you're getting new result and getting the result that are not the obvious one. So the interview is a pretty easy metaphor on how to do this, but it's true for everything that you're building. If it's a flow for UX, you can do the same, have the same approach to it. If it's a campaign, you can do the same approach. So by dividing your thoughts and having this conversation with chat will get you to a point where insights will arise.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Another tip that worked for me is like ask ChatGPT is like act as if you are a design hiring manager interviewing me, and then like providing some examples of that as well. Cool.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I guess we have time for one more question. I guess kind of like how I like to leave it off is like, where do you see AI in 5 to 10 years from now, and for designers, and how do you see it kind of influencing our lives?
That's like I said, like there's no wrong answer to this, but I think it will be something where we won't use our hands. Definitely something that will not require to be able to manipulate the keyboards, or it's probably going to be spatial as well. I think if you tied in what Apple have released last week, where robots are going, it might be a mix of spatial design and probably some material design that will be able to be built. I think that's actually funny, because that's one thing that one of our teacher 20 years ago told us is like, invest in 3D because the world will be in 3D. So I would think that 3D notion would be pretty important to understand, like perspective and how things reflect, so that you can play with the material live is probably going to be important. So that would be my answer, top of my head. But yeah, definitely the keyboard and the trackpad is probably not going to be there in the future. When? Well, like flying cars, we don't know, but it will probably happen.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Excited to see Apple's announcement too, and all the XR movements come in. I just came from a AR VR conference last week, so it's all fresh in my
Nice.
head. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much, everyone. Really appreciate y'all, Vincent and Anne, for hosting this event with us at Design Buddies. And thank you, everyone, for coming and for your insightful questions as well.
Yeah.
Thanks
Just
for the
one last
invite.
thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Like some people are asking about prompting, and it's something that we just need to get like practicing. I want to share my colleague Jen. So she has been posting a series of Learn ChatGPT with me in LinkedIn. So I'm just posting her LinkedIn. She's here as one of the attendees, but as part of like her commitment to learning AI, she has been sharing up to day 11 about ChatGPT, what she has learned. So she's sharing some tips on better prompting, on better ways we can get results. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. And Grace and myself have shared some links to our social, so that if you want to connect with us, you want to see like what we're doing as we just like going on this AI journey, feel free to connect with us. And thanks a lot, Grace, for hosting and for collaborating with us, and for everyone who has been trying out all the different things and just being an amazing attendees overall. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing with us. I'm very excited to try out your tools as well. I'm very excited, looking forward to getting more AI in my workflow as well.
Right.
I just want AI to like low-key take my job, so I can focus on like I can keep learning the tools. Like not take my job, but make myself more productive. So that's why I'm like so excited for this.
Taking away the grunt work, I think.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Probably the
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
My pet peeve is having to make pixel perfect mockups. I rather focus on the big ideas. So anyways, that's
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure maybe some of y'all can relate too. But yeah, taking away the grunt work.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll send out the recording to everyone and yeah, connect with each other, connect with Design Stripe, connect with Vincent and Anne, connect with myself, and connect with everyone.
Okay.
Awesome.